Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are highlighting a trans author that we, or that I actually knew personally, and that, like, you might not have heard of because she wrote some stuff that's was kind of under the radar now, I guess you'd say, but it was actually really good work that, like, a lot of people liked when I was working at the comic store. We're highlighting the work of Lila Sturgis, who wrote the book Jack of Fables, which is a offshoot of Fables, which we read a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I guess now.
Yeah, we did the first volume.
The first volume, yeah. I don't know how long ago that seems like a couple weeks ago, but now it's like
been, I think it's been a little while.
But yeah, so we did Fables, and that's about all the Fable characters you know and love, like Cinderella, the Big Bad Wolf, Jack and the Beanstalk, all those people. They all come to New York because they're running away from some adversary that's taken over their homeworld. They have to live in New York as humans, and it's annoying for them because they're magical beings, and they're like, man, this bureaucracy, blah blah blah, whatever. It's a really good story, really fun. I believe we both thought the first trade was like, it's pretty good, but the problem is it had been done on TV shows so much after that comic came out, because the comic's from 2002, and then like Once Upon a Time and stuff came out way later.
Yeah,
and they just basically stole the whole premise.
Yeah, they took all of those ideas and tried to basically run them into the ground.
Yeah, so yeah, but this is kind of like a fun spin-off of that, which there's not too many spin-offs of comics. So if you think, I guess you could call like Robin or Nightwing or something a spin-off, but it's like, those make sense that they would have their own books, but like in a story like this, you don't necessarily think, I need to have like characters break away and then we'll follow them, kind of thing. So I guess there would probably have been about 40 or 50 issues of Fables at the moment when this was made. And so it had, got a lot of acclaim and everybody was loving it, and Bill Willingham was writing that. And so I guess maybe he had an idea, or maybe DC was like, hey, do you want to do like a side book too? And he's like, well, let's bring in a second writer so we can, like, I'll plot it, or like I'll tell them maybe what's going on or whatever, and then they'll do all the scripting or something. I'm not sure exactly how they did it, whether they did it. I kind of heard Bill Willingham talk about it, and it was like we were trying to outdo each other every story arc. So it was like we try to do the more messed up thing than the next guy, and then the next person, and be like, okay. So they try to one up each other as far as what Jack would do. But but this one is Jack of Fable, so it follows Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk, or Jack and the Giant Killer, or whatever you know him from. And just the craziness that ensues in his life after he leaves Fabletown, because apparently he leaves it from the main line and does his own thing. So, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to, obviously, Fables don't want you running around or whatever. So he's kind of going against their whole thing.
Basically, he's breaking all of the,
he's breaking the rules.
All the Fable rules that they have in place to like live in the world.
Yeah. So this one's called The Nearly Great Escape. And we should say just real quick at the beginning, if you're looking for this book, you might find it under Lila's born name, which was Matthew. So just so you know, it might say Matthew Sturgis instead of Lila Sturgis, but it's the same. It is the same writer. So
yes,
because
I guess just Comixology has not updated many of the trans writer names. It looks like, unfortunately. So
well, I don't know about all of them,
but at least
Lila's,
at least in Lila's case.
So yeah, but just so you guys know, if you're looking for it, you might have to look under Matthew in case. But yeah, so. And it was cool. I actually knew Lila when I worked at the comic store. I guess she lived in Austin. I think Bill Willingham might have lived around here too, because he would come in sometimes as well. But Lila was always really nice to me and most of the staff and everything. So I had a good time. She would always like talk about what she was writing, and she also wrote a run on House of Mystery when they relaunched that in the for Vertigo. I think it was like in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I think she wrote like 50 issues of that. So
nice.
It's a good solid run. So she's got a lot of issues under her belt. So, but I was pleasantly surprised when reading this because I never read this series when it was coming out. I never read Fables, like issue by issue. Like it was never a book I was like, yeah, I need to read this. I mostly read the main Fables line to sell it because we had to sell stuff. So I was like, okay, now I know what this is. And I can like talk about it to customers and sell them on the idea. But Jack of Fables being an offshoot, I was like, yeah, sounds cool. But
you like Fables? Read Jack of Fables.
Yeah. If you're a big Fables fan, you should definitely check out Jack of Fables. You're gonna love it. I don't know, I've never read it, but everybody says it's pretty good. So, but yeah, so.
But now that we have,
I actually really enjoyed it, and actually, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Liked it better than the first trade of Fables. So, but yeah. That being said, let's get into it. So, Jack of Fables, like we said, is the spinoff where Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk is going off on his own. It kind of gives you a little history of where he's been because he starts off and he's hitchhiking, and he's like, it wasn't supposed to go this way, and basically. He's like hitchhiking, but apparently he used to have a bunch of money and a bunch of stuff. And because when he left Fabletown, he had a bunch of money, like millions and millions of dollars. Apparently he went to Hollywood, started his own film company called Nimble Pictures. It was doing really good, making all these Tinseltown versions of Fable stuff, right? Because he actually knew specifically the Jack the Giant Slayer. So he's like, he knows everything to tell for those stories and everything. So he was making apparently badass versions of them, getting really popular.
Very good with the ladies.
Yes, and then I think Hollywood fucked him over, right? Like basically.
Well, like he got really big, and then I think Jill, right?
Yes, I'm sorry, that's what it was. It was actually it was Fabletown. They sent like their new sheriff because I guess Big B isn't sheriff at this time, and the new sheriff is Beast. So. Beast comes and he's like, hey, you're doing too good. Like, you need to stop selling, getting all this stuff going on.
And Jack says no. He's like, okay, well, then guess what? Fabletown now owns all of your stuff, and you get you can get a little bit.
And that's actually repayment for how you left Fabletown. So we don't know exactly what happened, but we know he left a bunch of damage that they had to fix and pay for. And basically, they're able to retake all his money and all his assets and everything to repay whatever damage he did to Fabletown when he left, except $1 million, which he has in a briefcase.
Yeah,
so,
they're like, you can fill this briefcase, and that's all you get.
Yeah. So he's hitchhiking, and he's got a briefcase with $1 million in it, and he's hitchhiking, which I thought was fun. And he gets picked up by some people, or some people pull over, and they're like, hey, you want to come our way? And it's like a hot girl. He's like, finally.
Heck yeah, dude.
We should also say Jack is a fucking asshole. Like in his head, this whole book is narrated by him, and he's like, of course, I, Jack the Giant Killer, the awesome, he talks about himself in very high regard in his head, which I thought was very funny and like a really, really fun idea to like get you to exactly fall into this character. Like, this is who you're getting in this whole book. So hopefully you like, asshole jerks or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like you're not like obviously like rooting for him in that sense, but it's just it really creates a fun dynamic of him being like, oh my God, like come on, dude.
Yeah. So anyway, this girl comes out of a van and is like, hey, you want to ride with us? He's like, well, finally, a young lady. And he like walks over to her, and then there's like obviously bad people that are going to pull him into the van that are like in these bag suits. And he's like, what the heck? And then turns out she pulls a gun on him and is like, get in the van. So she works for, dang it, I forgot his name. What's his name?
Mr. Revise.
Mr. Revise. Okay, so Mr. Revise has like a retirement home, we'll call it, like an estate that's kind of like, it's like he built like his own little town for Fables that's like he's trying to eliminate their memory from the world. Yeah. So these are all like old Fables that you're not 100% on their story. Maybe you heard of them a little bit.
They're basically ones that like they're the ones that like you kind of tell to kids or like for like you hope that they get a little maybe a moral from it, but that's all. Like the tortoise and the hare, or
Right,
like
right.
Humpty Dumpty. Like, you know, a couple lines or something.
Right, but no one actually knows the full story
Yeah.
of Humpty. Like, everybody knows Jack and the Beanstalk, mainly because of like Mickey and the Beanstalk and stuff,
Yeah.
or whatever. But like, that's what we're saying. Like, all of those, the bigger of a fable you are, the more power you have, or kind of thing. It's kind of like American Gods. I don't know if you've ever read that book, but in Neil Gaiman's American Gods, which there's a TV show now too. Like, all the gods get their power from how many people believe in them. So it's kind of like, that. Like, these same thing where they get their power from how many people believe. And this guy, Mr. Revise, is, if he kidnaps you and brings you and kind of takes you out of public memory, and then he'll like start killing all the media and everything about you, so people will forget about you. He ends up being able to like take your power, kind of thing. So he, like, I guess he's feeding off of all these fables that are kind of getting memory hold. And so he wants to do it to Jack, but Jack is not going down easy. He, kicks his way out of the van. He escapes. All his money flies all over the place.
He escapes, but he escapes on the highway.
Yeah, he escapes on the highway, yeah. So he jumps out of the van. It's going like 1,000 miles an hour or whatever. And like, there's like a giant explosion. He like causes like a whole pile up on the freeway. His money goes all over the place. And he lands, and it is very obvious that he is not in good situation when he lands. But he's a fable, so he's basically immortal for the most part. So like, as he lands, all his bones snap in his arms, and his fucking face hits the pavement, and he's like, ugh. And then all the humans that are around are like, it's raining money, because like millions of dollars are raining down on the freeway. But they're able to pick him up because he's like, now he's all broken and everything, and he's knocked out. And so they throw him back in the van. They're like, let's get out of here. They're like, is he alive? He's like, yeah, he's fine. He's just all broken and everything. And then we actually see like how he's able to, like, when he wakes up, they're like, are you okay? And he's like, how long has it been? They're like, 2 days almost. He's like, damn. He's like, well, my arm should be able to be fixed now. And then it shows like an x-ray of his like completely shattered arm. And then he just kind of like, it like moves it, and it just like amalgamates into the correct bone.
That's funny how they're able to show that. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's not really that bad.
Yes. And then I thought this character was funny. There's this guy who like can make lore or something.
Yeah, Mr. Fallacy.
Mr. Fallacy. So he's like preparing wherever this mystery place is that they're going to bring Jack, because she's telling him, well, we're going to bring you to this place, and you're going to like it, and you're going to be stuck there forever, and there's no escape, kind of thing. And he's like, oh, really? I take that as a challenge.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. And so Mr. Fallacy, we don't know who he is, except he's kind of like he looks like he's like the janitor or something, but he starts walking around. He's like, hey, it's a big day, everybody. We got a new fable coming to town or whatever. And he's like talking to all the plates and the clocks, and it's basically like, be our guest. Be our guest.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's all inanimate until he starts talking to them, and then they like start springing to life, and they have eyes.
Yeah, it's exactly like Beauty and the Beast. That's the. I'm like, what's the name of that movie? Yeah, Beauty and the Beast. So yeah, they go through like this. They go into this compound. It's like straight up like barbed wire fence, no trespassing, and then it looks all nice and like old timey, like European village. Like all the houses are like made of straw and blah blah. It's just like, it's kind of quaint village or whatever. But it says, "Welcome to the Golden Burrows Retirement Community," because they're retiring these characters. And so, we see as we walk in, we get to see some more of the characters that are here. We see there's like the Wizard of Oz characters, like the Tin Man, or is it the Tin Man? Is that what his name is? Yeah. I'll see. That's how memory hold these are. I don't even remember what they're called, but yeah, we got the Tin Man. We got like we got this guy who's kind of like the groundskeeper, and he says his name is Sam, but I think he's supposed to be Bagger Vance and the only reason I know about Bagger Vance is because that stupid movie, The Legend of Bagger Vance. So I think he's supposed to be that, because later on he says his last name is Vance. So, and then like basically we get like the Carpenter and the Walrus from Alice in Wonderland. So just like kind of side characters that aren't really like, no one really knows the full memory, full story.
Like, it's like we were saying, like the kitty ones, like there's like, we see Baba Black Sheep.
Yes. You get the Cowardly Lion.
Yeah.
There's just a bunch of stuff going on. Then
I love the house that they take Jack to. They take Jack and they're like, okay, he goes in, and it's very much like, looks like this chair's been sat in.
Yeah, someone ate this porridge.
Yeah.
and then he walks in and he's like, he sees like a naked girl sitting there, and she's got a bear claw tattoo on her ass, and she's like waiting for him in his bed naked with champagne, and he's like, someone's been sleeping in my bed, like, and he's like, Goldilocks. So apparently Goldilocks was in the old Fables book as well, and she got kicked out.
Yeah, she got kicked out.
Yeah,
as well.
she got really kicked out before. So he knows her from that book, and she knows him. But yeah, she is DTF. She was waiting for him. So that's how the first issue ends, just with her ready to
get down with Jack.
Yeah, to get down with the man. And of course he's like, of course she is. I'm fucking Jack of Fables. So we should also say the covers of these books, just like all the Fables covers, are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
By James Jean. Amazing artwork. So they look really good. Then book 2 starts off with an escape attempt from Humpty Dumpty. He is broken out. He's trying to break out. We see like everything that this place has to keep you in. So Humpty Dumpty's running. There's fucking giant tigers that will chase you down. Yeah, there's like people with dogs and everything.
There's guard towers with spotlights. Guard towers
with all that stuff. There's
awesome.
The fence that's got like barbed wire and all that stuff. And then they're like, you mustn't fall, Dumpty. You can't take another fall. Like, we won't put you together again if you fall. And he's like, damn it, no. And he like, as he tries to kill himself actually and jump off. And as he jumps off, they have like a fireman's trampoline or whatever to catch you, which I thought was funny. That's like old school fireman or whatever. But yeah, like they are able to
catch. Nice try.
Yeah, they catch him so he can't kill himself. And he's like, I hate this place. It's just so funny.
And this is one of the other women that we find out is like helping run the place. So the main person is Mr. Revise, and then he's got three pages. Yeah,
because their sister's named Paige, and they all looked similar-ish. Yeah. And one of them was in the van. One of them kidnapped him. Then the one that is like the main head Paige, she was the one that just tracked down Humpty Dumpty. And then there's a third Paige who's like the administrative.
Yeah, stuff. There's like Hillary, Rose,
Priscilla,
and Priscilla. That's right.
Yeah. So then we come back to the cottage where,
it's next morning, and both of these people are naked in bed, and
we see Jack.
Jack's like, "Oh, that's right. That happened last night." Of course,
he's like, "Oh man, how much did I drink or whatever?" he's like, "Oh, sweet. Looks like I had a good time." And then they're just talking and whatnot, talking about the old days and what happened. And then we get a little clip of what happened to her.
She's trying to talk about the old days, and it's very much like you said, like Jack is just such an asshole, and he's like, yeah, I don't really like to, in the mornings, like to be by myself.
Yeah, like, are you still here?
You want to get out of here? And she's like, you don't want to talk about the old times? And he's like, you can talk, I guess. I'm just going to do my thing. He's such an asshole.
He's very much an asshole. And so then we get like what happened back in the day. Basically, she gets an axe to the head for something that she did. I think it was like an uprising that she tried to cause at the farm. I'm thinking that's what it was, if I can remember correctly. And then she gets like thrown off a cliff and then like run over by a truck on the way out. So it's just like all this crazy shit that she was almost dead. Then she's face down in a river after the truck, and she was drowning because she couldn't move. She was so hurt that she couldn't move, but then also she was face down, but she wasn't dead. So she just was drowning over and over and over again until finally her body washed up face up or whatever, and then she was able to recover. So that's how we get like I guess she rushed out in a Puget Sound area, and then like someone found her and pulled her out, and that's when she was able to recover. So, but yeah, it's like a whole thing she went through that she's like super traumatized by, but then now she works, or I guess now she's here. Well,
she said Mr. Revise found her, so
right. So, but she works here. And then we see some of the other people here we got Paul Bunyan, Babe the Blue Ox. I'm like, are those people forgotten?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's kind of one of those things like maybe because that's what you know.
I used to watch the animated cartoons from Disney that they don't show anymore. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe
there's that, and there's like the old A Tall Tale movie, but like that's from my childhood. I don't know who's seen that since then.
Great movie, by the way.
I remember loving that movie as a kid. So
Yes. If you guys haven't checked out, check out Disney's Legends. It was a DVD. I don't know if it's anything else now, but it's got the 4 Tall Tales. Yeah. It's got John Henry, Johnny Appleseed, Paul Bunyan, and
the guy
Casey,
the guy on the tornado. What's his?
Well, there's Pecos Bill.
Pecos Bill.
It might have Pecos Bill, or it has Casey Jones. I can't remember which one it has.
I think it's Pecos Bill.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Well, that no, you're thinking of the non-animated movie. I'm talking about the animated movie.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm talking about.
So I think the animated movie has Casey Jones, and then there was a non-animated movie called Disney's Tall Tales.
Tall Tale, yeah.
The one I'm talking about is called Disney's Legends, and that was all the animated shorts like put together in one.
Well, movie. And the one thing I will give Disney Plus for is they really are. They had a lot of content at first anyway, but they really are starting to add a lot of that stuff, especially from like my childhood. Because every time I go on there now, I'm like, oh well, they have like these old movies I watched with my grandfather, like Charlie the Cougar and Napoleon and Samantha, which are like 60s movies that when Disney was doing like. They had a lot of weird like live action movies where they used real animals, but like probably shouldn't be in movies. They probably should not have used the animals.
Yes,
it's interesting. So, but they really are putting a lot on there.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Go watch some Disney Legends or whatever. So, anyway, so yeah, back to Fables. We see just pretty much everybody fucking hates living here, of course, and. What's his name? Mr.
Fallacy.
Mr. Fallacy goes to talk to Jack and just be like, "Hey, you're requested to go talk to Mr. Revise." He's like, "I don't know who that is, and I don't give a fuck. I'm not anybody's. No one's telling me what to do. I'm Jack of Fables, motherfucker." and he's like, "No, you should. You know, it's important." And it's funny because he's playing like a pinball machine, and then like we said, Mr. Fallacy is able to like make stuff come alive or whatever, like kind of make his own legend happen or whatever. So he just kind of like says, "Why don't you get out of here?" And then like the pinball machine's like whoop whoop whoop, it starts walking out or whatever. So it's like it gets its own personality, comes alive. So pretty awesome. But he goes finally to meet Mr. Revise. I'm gonna say Dr. Revise because it sounds more evil. Yeah. And we get like this run in.
Well, he tries to like I guess like go to a bar at first instead.
Yeah, he's going like the long way basically. He's like, I'll go when it's my time. So yeah, he stops at a bar. He gets in a fight with Paul Bunyan.
He calls Blue the Hogsy because it's like you got that cow. He's like that calf
that
or
cow.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, it's an ox.
Yeah. It's not a cow, babe.
How dare you?
Not a cow. And so yeah, he gets in a fight with Paul Bunyan, gets beat up a little bit. And then they're like, okay, we should probably head to Mr. Revise. So they go there, and Mr. Revise instantly tells him like what's what. Like Jack's like, I ain't doing shit, you know. And then he's like, nah, you will sit down. And then like he pulls him magically to a chair and makes him sit down. And then he like threatens to cut off his dick or whatever, like all this stuff.
He's like, I'm gonna demasculate you.
Yeah, he's like, I got scissors, these magical scissors, and they'll cut anything off. When they won't grow back or whatever. So he's like, oh shit. And so he's basically intimidating him, trying to like, you know, get him to act correct, you know, to just die in peace, you know. And then we get to see like Jack just gets under his skin and is able, you know, he's snarky. He's like a wise ass or whatever. And I kind of like that about this character. It kind of reminded me of like...
He kind of makes me think Constantine.
That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
He kind of reminds me of Hellblazer in this. Just he's able to get under everybody's skin and like, you know, do whatever he wants and piss everybody off in order to make his stuff, whatever he wants to do, happen. So he tells the guy like, I'm going to get out of here. And he's like, you will not. Like, I will kill you if you do this or that. And he's like, that's fine. I'm still going to escape. And he's like, no one has ever escaped. And he's like... I'm still gonna escape. Yeah. So yeah, basically he's like, you've never had a fable like me. You know, like you might have thought all these other fables are like old and broken or whatever, but you picked me and you was wrong. You know, like so. After this whole meeting with Mr. Revise, you know, he's all cocksure and everything. He walks out, and everybody's like, "Oh, what happened?" And he's like, "I'm getting out of here." And who's coming with me? Basically, so it's like. It's just like a fun, like he doesn't give a fuck who knows what he's planning and all this stuff. It's just he's such a fun character. That's the end of issue 2. Then we get like a good breakdown, and I thought this was nice from Sam or Sam Vance, we get like a breakdown from him of the whole, like who's in charge and who does what.
Yeah,
in the
and
whole place.
It's fun because it looks like it's just a couple people it starts off with.
Yeah, it's like head, and it's like Mr. Revise, and then it's like, senior people, and they call them librarians. I don't know why I guess because they're like book characters, right?
Characters,
so, but yeah, so you got the senior librarians, and it's the 3 pages. Then it's like further down, and then it's like assistant librarians. There's like 400. It's like whoa, there's a lot of people here. But there's only a certain amount of people at the head of it. So, we find out like all the defenses. There's like air defenses that we don't know about. And this is like them kind of doing their dun planning breakout. Yeah, like they're doing the whole Ocean's 11 breakout plan, and that's what they're going through all this stuff for. So they're like, okay, what do we got to do? Like if there's in the sky, there's these ravens that duplicate as they see something flying or whatever. So I can't remember what they call them, drakes, right, or something. They say like they're like doubling drakes or some shit like that, which means if they see someone flying in the air, they come up and it's just 1. Then it'll be 2. Then it'll be 4. Then it'll be 8. And they just keep multiplying until the thing is dead or like not in the air anymore. And so he's like, we can use this to our advantage. And like, so he comes up with like a plan for what they're gonna do to break out of this place.
Yeah, there's several different of the fairy tale creatures are gonna have like different jobs, basically, or different positions, like you said, Ocean's 11 to kind of help get out one way or another.
Yeah, and basically, we just it's kind of like just his plan versus what the bad guys are talking about. Like either they're going to keep him there, or they're like we're onto it, and they're like, well, we have a mole, so we know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Like they still know what's going on. I did like that they Humpty he basically like all the main people he wants to take, and then Humpty Dumpty and Mother Goose like, we're coming too, right? And he's like, nah, no, probably not. You guys are kind of liability. And Humpty Dumpty's like, well, I come from a very rich land, so you sure, I might make it worth your while if
he's
I
like,
come.
Oh, you got money? Cool. Well,
sure,
you come. And then he's like, what about you, Goose? You lay any golden eggs or anything? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, then you're stuck.
Then you're out.
And so he's gonna leave the goose, which I thought was funny. And then basically, like the intrigue of this issue is like we're trying to find out or like think about who's the bad guy, or like who's the mole, right, of this group of people planning. We don't know. It could be a bunch of people. There was a funny moment where Jack hurts himself while he's trying to like scout up a tree to see like how far the fences are or something like that, and he falls and he gets spiked on the guardrail or whatever, and then like Sam's like, quick, get help, and he like tells the tortoise and the hare, and they're both like, we're on it. And then the hare runs, and then the tortoise is like, I'm running.
I'm going.
I'll get there. And so, that was like a funny moment, but he's able to get off.
Yeah. But that's what Mr. Fallacy, the hare goes Mr. Fallacy. And I love that. But again, Mr. Fallacy comes and he makes things come to life. So he makes the fence come and it comes out of him. And he's like, thanks, Fence. You did a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Good job, Fence. You did the best fence job possible. So, and then like we get this whole setup because, like we said, they're trying to figure out what to do to get out. They basically come up with a plan, and part of that plan is they have to make all the crows continuously be doubling. So they need something in the air that's gonna like piss them off for a long time, so it kind of makes a bunch of commotion and also like kind of blinds everything going on that they're actually doing to escape. So they need like a diversion basically, and he gets these fairies that they're ones he knows, right? Like he saved one of them.
Yeah,
they go back into the past where it shows Jack when he was like a teenager, and the fairies are like an inch tall or whatever, and so they're like, you saved us that one time, and he's like, I'm like, what? And then they cut back to like the past, and Jack's like a dumb kid. He's like, I'll kill you with my sword. And he's got like a stick and he's being all dumb. He's got like the Prince Valiant haircut and stuff, which is funny. And then there's like an ogre that's maybe 5 inches tall that's like, I'm going to kill you, fairies. And then he's like, I'm going to eat your brains or whatever. And then like as Jack's walking and not even paying attention,
he just accidentally steps.
He steps on the gremlin. Or
yeah,
the
gremlin creature,
and kills it. And they're like, "Oh my god, our hero!" And like, so they take it from him. And he's like, "No one beats Jack, the famous killer of evil or whatever." And they're like, oh, "He's so handsome!" Like, and so they like fell in love with him. And now that they're hidden away, they still like him. And he's like, "Oh great, you know me, I like this. You guys can help me out then." So he's got a plan for them because they can fly and stuff. And so we set up like, okay, they're ready to escape. They've got it. And then I like this. The last panel you see is the turtle being like, "Finally, I reached the spot." He's like, "Someone's in trouble at the old oak." And then it's all dark. He's like, "Hello?" He's like, thought that was fun. Yeah. Once again, foiled. But yeah, so then we see what the what the plan is. The fairies are all gonna go fly and like set off the alarm with the crows. The crows are gonna attack them. So that's what happens. They start doing that. They set off the alarms, and everybody's freaking out. Then the fairies are just fast enough, I guess, from the crows that they can like kind of get away, and they're just kind of flying all over, leading them away.
Yeah, it looked like they were making like the crows like run into each other.
Yeah.
Too, so
yeah. Basically, they're doing all these maneuvers so that they can like outpace the crows, because the crows, they just want to murder them. So they're and then we mentioned the bagmen at the beginning that were in the van that captured him. But they bring up the bagmen as like these boogeymen every now and then, and they're just guys that looks like trash bags full of a person, in the shape of a person, and they have goggles, so they have no mouth or anything. And the pages are like, "We should release all the bagmen since we know they're going to try to escape tonight," kind of thing. So
they're like, "All the bagmen,
all of them? We've never done that." They're like, "Yes, all of them," or whatever. So they actually release all of the bagmen, and then that just entails them unzipping a bag. A bunch of bags.
That was hysterical. They literally are inside of bags, like duffel bags that you carry your gym clothes in or whatever. And then like I thought it looked like they were like gaseous creatures or something. Like the mirror made me think of the character from Hellboy, the underwater suit.
Johan, yeah,
Johan. So like they all like expand up out of their bags into the trash bag looking men that they are.
Yes. So while everything's going on with the fairies, everybody else is running, right? Everybody else is getting to the fence on the border, and they have Mr. Fallacy with them, who of course is able to like, "Hey fence, why don't you take a break?" And there's like the fence lays down and like lets them pass. Okay. No problem. So they're able to get pretty farther than any other Fable has before. And so they finally, as they're going, they get to where like, oh, the lions, or the I guess they're tigers or whatever, are like this last level defense, and the tigers run out, and we get like one of the few deaths in this book, and we see it's all the characters from The Wizard of Oz. So we got the Tin Man, we got Dorothy, we got the scared lion, and we got the scarecrow, and of course Toto. Who doesn't love Toto? Everybody, the cute little dog. Everybody loves him. And as they're running, they're like, "Holy shit, let's climb the fence!" And Toto's like waiting. He's at the very end, and like, we gotta get Toto. And then as they're yelling that, the fucking tiger just rips Toto in half, like full on, just and like
entrails,
blood, entrails, like, "Toto, no!" The scarecrow's like, "Oh dear, Toto!" And then it's super fucked up. And possibly the more fucked up thing is that Dorothy, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Dorothy," and she's like, "It's fine. He's been really annoying for the past 100 years." Like, she just doesn't give a fuck because he's been the same yappy dog for 100 years. So.
I would think of that as like, oh, that's really horrible.
Yeah, it's funny, but terrible as well. So one of the things I like is you see Paul Bunyan. He's just like totally jumping over the fence, just walking because he's so tall or whatever. So I thought that was weird. I'm like, could he have just done that? Like, what's stopping him? He's got an axe and a big blue ox. What's going to stop him from?
They obviously captured him and put them there. So
apparently.
Maybe it's because all of them are going.
Maybe. So everybody's been empowered, basically. So they're like Mr. Revise is like, "We must kill him." And like, "Well, we got Toto." He's like, "I don't give a fuck about this dog." Like, we need to get everybody. And they're like, "Okay, don't worry. We still have our inside person or whatever." And then we see the bagmen also, and they're running to get them, and they're creepy. I like the way they move. They kind of look like a video game character. I don't. There is a video game character that kind of has the same like baggy, like fluid motion or something. I can't remember what the name of the character is, but like and he's got goggles and stuff, his eyes. So it's just a really good design. I like their design for them, but they're just unsettling because they have like no real body structure or whatever. Yeah, and you just see that in the bag movement or whatever. So, but yeah, so they're almost out. They're like Jack has pushed everybody else over first, which is interesting. I thought this was like Jack, while all of his talk in his head makes him seem like an arrogant asshole, he still is the last person to get over the fence. He helps everybody else that's with him get over the fence, and then he's like the last one. And then, so then the bagman is running up behind him, and everybody's like, "Watch out!" And then Jack turns around, and instantly is having to fight this fucking bagman. And he's like, "Don't worry, I can take on a bagman." They're like, "No, you don't understand. Like these guys cannot be killed." He's like, "Oh yeah," and then he tries to fight him, and then the bagman just like starts choking him. And he's like not able to do anything about it.
I love he's like punching him, and it's like it literally like
so the
one area is full, and then he punches it, and then it just goes flat, and then re-expands when the punch comes back.
It's a great design for a bad guy. So.
Yeah.
Then Sam, being the cool helper, Sam, he jumps over the fence, and he's like, "Don't worry, I got my trusty pocket knife," and he pulls out his fucking pocket knife. He gets foiled a little bit because the knife, he gets punched. The knife falls out. You got to create a little drama here. But he's able to reach the knife, and then, he's able to reach the knife, and then he eventually is able to cut the bagman open. And he actually says, like, here's a theory I've been wanting to test. So he's like, basically, you can't defeat these bagmen, but what happens if you cut them open? Like, do they just go empty or whatever? And basically, when they cuts them open, this giant fucking spectral demon monster like comes out of them. Like, oh my god! Like,
the language it speaks, you can't tell. It's like written in weird symbols. It's very creepy.
Yeah, and it's got like a head that's got like skulls in it and shit. It's just like super fucked up and weird.
I really like Jack's inner monologue of this. He's like, "Oh, you think it would be, nothing crazy would happen? They're just like
air
whatever's in them. When air would come out, he's like, nah, the inside was like something from the depths of hell that should not be seen ever.
It made my very bones quiver in a non-metaphorical way. It was just like super funny, and it even made like Sam sob, like how terrifying it was. But I guess it just floats away after, like it's escaped, it's released from its holding. Maybe they trapped them in there or something. So we get to see what a bagman is, kind of thing. And then also, as Humpty Dumpty and the other gang are about to leave, they turn around and now the tiger is there about to kill them, and Humpty Dumpty's like, "No, I didn't think I was going to get out of here anyway. Don't worry about it. I got this." And he's like, "Let's see if he can handle a cannon from the old Colchester." And he just, I don't know where this power comes from. It's never been mentioned in any book I've ever heard.
Are you sure this isn't part of the original Fables?
But I guess they're just like, wouldn't it be fun if we just throw in some weird power that Humpty Dumpty had? And so Humpty Dumpty's able to like make a beam, like a power beam,
like some
out
energy,
of his mouth.
power beam.
And he like opens his mouth and he just blows it open, and there's like steam coming out of his nostrils and everything. And but not only does this fry the cat, like it totally kills the cat, murders it. Humpty Dumpty is like, and that was what I was afraid of, and he starts to chip away as it like winds down. He's like, it's the end, folks, kind of thing. And so he gave his life, and then all the other tigers are also showing up, but they're able to like get around him. Sam takes off. He's like, "If you can catch me," and I think because now they're getting more emboldened and everything, they actually have more of their powers than they did before. So like Sam, he's running. He's like, I feel younger than I have in ages, and he's like able to outrun the cats now. And so, we see everything that like they've been able to get through all the defenses, and now Mr. Revise is on the hunt. And he's like, "These guys are not getting out of here." And like, "You fucking pages, you ruined everything." Like he's blaming everything on the Page girls and or the Page sisters. And then we see it's pretty much left. The only people that are there are Jack and Goldilocks. And she's like, "Hey, Jack, I'm here. What took you so long?" And he's like, "Oh, cool. Like, you know how to get out of here?" She's like, "Yeah, I know like another way we should go. It's definitely faster. We should go this way."
Totally.
Yeah. And then she's like, "Here it is. It's this well. You should jump down the well. It's like a quick escape route. Like it's a portal to another area or whatever." He's like, "Really? That's interesting." And then he's like, "I knew you're the fucking
you're the mole.
You're the mole. You're the double cross agent." And she's like, "What? How did you know?" And he's like, "These glasses." And the funny thing was, I don't know if this was true or not. He just says like, she's like, "What makes you think that it was me or whatever?" And he's like, "These glasses." And he's like, "My glasses? What do they have to do with it?" And he's like, "You think I'm an idiot? Everyone who works for Revise wears, or all have one thing in common. They all wear
glasses."
And they're like, that's what he came up with. And he just happened to be right, but I don't think.
No. It was for yeah, he is right technically.
Yeah, he's right, but it's for the dumbest wrong reason. And she's like, "You're a fucking idiot." You know? Like, and so, but she was right. And then she says, "You know why? Because basically, the reason why she ended up getting an axe to the head and thrown out of Fabletown and all that stuff was because of Jack. Jack, I think he betrayed her or he told on her or something like that. Yeah. So." She still is holding a grudge against him, and this was a whole big plot to get revenge on him, basically. So she wants him to go face down into this well that's only like a foot wide, or like maybe a foot and a half. So he is going to go face down, and then he's always going to be drowning, like she was when she was in the river. So she like pulls out a shotgun. She's like, "Oh no, I'm going to blow your head off if you don't do this." He's like, all right, whatever. And then he ends up being able to get the gun out of her hands, and then he as a dick, he like knocks her out and he throws her down the well face first like she was going to do to him, and he's just like, "Women." And then like so like he makes her have to live like he was or whatever. Then we cut to, this is hilarious, this is like the next morning or whatever. Now they're having to chase all these fables outside of, they're on normal Earth now. And we see Paul Bunyan and Big Blue Ox are on. It's almost like Dumb and Dumber. What's that little motorcycle that he's like, "You traded?" Oh, the little mini bike. Yeah. He's the little mini bike that he's got. He's like, "Yeah, this hog gets 70 miles to the gallon or whatever." So they have that, and the ox is like on the shoulders of Paul. It's fucking hilarious. He looks ridiculous, but he's able to get captured by these guys again, and then they're trying to just, capture who they can. And then basically that's what we're stuck. We end with now Jack is able, he got out.
Jack's the only one who truly gets.
Is he the only one?
Well, so they're, okay, so some of them obviously got out, but they're obviously catching them one by one. They're catching
some of them one by one, but we see the pixies or the fairies are out.
The fairies are out.
Jack is out. So a lot of them got out. Some of them didn't, but, it was a good effort, So
Jack got out, and that's what matters.
And that's what matters. That's all he cares about, at least. So, but he did his best to get everybody else out, which I thought was nice as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much this book. I liked it a lot. What did you think, John?
I love the writing in this. It was extremely clever. I loved so the initial Fables, and I still do want to read more, but like we said, I'm curious about it, but I didn't want to move right into it because it was a little slow moving at first.
Right.
But I guess because he's already established and they had already done the back work on it.
Yeah.
That's why this was able to just kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah, and this is for people kind of who have already read Fables. So it really allows them to just they give a little dialogue of who he is, where he is in his head.
Yeah.
And then like, "Hey, I'm Jack. If you didn't know me, I'm blah, 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 blah." And then that catches up the new readers. And the old readers, they already knew that. So.
And that was good for me because I was already into that idea.
Right.
And then, like I said, the way they handled all these older kind of old retiring, kind of going out of the main light, fairy tales I just loved them. They were all really funny used. I love the tortoise in the hair.
Yeah.
The tortoise in the hair when they're escaping too. The tortoise in the hair already shouted, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, we'll do it." And so obviously the hair takes off, and the tortoise is going, and then on the tortoise, as you see him from behind a little bit, he's got like brake lights and like mud flaps,
mud
like
flaps.
On, like a truck with the little
That have like naked ladies,
the naked
on them.
women's silhouette. Yeah. It was all the little details and the little things they put into the creatures. And then like it said, like the story itself, I love Jack's inner monologue throughout all of this, and like all the little extras that they gave, like Humpty Dumpty having a beam cannon
coming out of his mouth. That was fun.
Yeah, this story was fun. I really will definitely continue this series.
Yeah, it's definitely one I want to continue reading. There's a couple series like this that we've read where I'm like, oh, American Vampire, I want to continue that.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to pick up at least the next couple trades and just and see if they continue to be as good. Because I want to know what happens to Jack.
Yeah, I do too now.
So, and what kind of havoc he causes. So, on that note, what would you give this one, John?
It was a lot of fun. Like I said, the writing was fantastic. The art was, the art inside was solid and fantastic. The covers are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I would probably give this one. I had a lot of fun. I would give it an 8.
An 8?
Yeah, it was good.
I'm gonna give this one. I can't remember what we gave Fables, but I'm gonna give this one a 7. Like it's a solid read. I didn't think it's like a game changer or anything, but it's definitely like a solid read. And like I said, you could pick this up if you haven't read Fables, as long as you know who Jack and the Beanstalk is, and like what fairy tales are. That's all you need to know. So
that's true. Like they have a lot in the background, and that's one thing Matt and I were talking about when we were afterwards, because I was like, I saw some creatures here, and I don't remember this. And Matt's like, oh, it's blah blah blah, and I was like, oh, I don't even remember that.
Yeah,
I really don't remember.
To play. They throw so many like low key fairy tale characters in here. That wait,
these comics must be a slew of Easter eggs if you love that kind of thing, and I do. So yeah, I mean, I can't imagine like that into of like the extra of like the I love when they put that extra time into the little things too. So that's cool.
Yes. So definitely check out Jack of Fables. We both give it a 7. John gives it an 8.
I give it an 8, sir.
I give it a 7. And yeah, next week we are going to be reading another trans writer's work that isn't collected, because I don't know why they have never collected it. But it is the Doom Patrol run by Rachel Pollack. She was the follow-up writer after Grant Morrison's run. So Grant Morrison did like issues 19 through 62 of Doom Patrol in the 80s and 90s. And then Rachel Pollack actually followed it for, I think she did some 63 to 87. So she had like a solid year and a half, I think, on her, or 2 years.
Nice.
And from what I understand, it was really good. So you've never read any Doom Patrol, right?
No, yeah. So this will be interesting. It's the first time I'm going to be.
Have you watched the show at all?
I watched the trailer. I haven't watched the show yet.
Okay. So I don't know if this is a good jumping on point or anything, but everybody says usually it is. Usually if a new writer is jumping in, they're going to have like, oh, here's like a new introduction to stuff or whatever, or a new status quo for what I'm writing. Kind of thing.
The stuff you were saying about it, as far as like they said this story arc that especially that we're going to read is like really solid.
Yeah,
and like so the characters though are definitely intrigue me, and it looks nice, and we're continuing our celebration for Pride, so like I think this is going to be another good read. So. Yeah,
and like I said, this is not collected, so I don't know, put some pressure on DC like we did with Milestone, and get that pushed through. So you guys got to do more than just change the color of your logos. Yeah.
Like you got to actually support, writers. and put the collections together of the artists, of the writers.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this I heard was good. I haven't read it myself. I have read some of the Grant Morrison Doom Patrol, so I'm at least somewhat familiar with the characters.
I will probably do a tiny bit of like. Just like who the main characters are.
Who like just read the Wikipedia.
Yeah, because the only person I know then this could just be for the show. Is Cyborg actually a member of the Doom Patrol?
No, Cyborg's not in.
Okay, so he's just in the show.
Who's Cyborg? The robot man you're talking about? That's not Cyborg.
In the show, it's there's Cyborg, isn't he?
No.
Oh.
That's I can't remember what his name is, but he's just a metal man.
Okay. I didn't know.
An actual character in the...
Oh, well, yeah. Well, then I definitely don't know.
It's a totally different character than Cyborg. So
that's cool. I didn't realize.
So, John, doesn't know anything about Doom Patrol. So
Apparently, all right. Well,
Brendan Fraser, that's who plays him in the show, or who voices the character Robot. I can't remember what his name is. It's either Robot or it's something like that.
No, we are talking about different characters now.
Oh, who are you talking about?
I only saw the trailer for the show, and I thought that Cyborg, but a different actor from the one that in Justice League.
I didn't know he was
in the show.
I don't know,
but I think
he's
that's
not normally in Doom Patrol.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't know if they were just trying to bring in some character people know to help bridge a gap or something. Okay. That's why I wasn't sure.
Fucking fine.
But either way, this is the comic Doom Patrol, which we know comics and the TV shows and or movies have their differences. So comic Doom Patrol.
If you want to read this one, it is on Comixology in issues format. So we're reading issues 63 to 69, which is 6 issues. The first story arc is 3 issues long, and then I guess there's 3 one-shots kind of, or 3 single stories after that. So we're just going to read those first 6 issues and just get a feel for her run and see how it is. And, it should be good. From what I've heard, if you like Doom Patrol, it was a great, tag on to Grant Morrison stuff. So,
nice.
So on that note, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at planestrainsandcomicbooks, all one word, at gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube channel for exclusive content. Matt's really pumping them out, and I promise I'm getting some coming.
Sometime you might see John's face sometime. Somewhere, somehow on on our YouTube channel. But until then, I'm definitely putting out three new videos a week.
Is the face of art.
Yeah, I am putting out 2 comic issue reviews, so single issues. I'm doing those ones where I actually have the issue on the screen while I talk about it. I don't spoil the ending.
Yeah, but
I do spoil some of the comics.
It's really cool. Because Matt reads way more than I do. Obviously, he's in the comic book shop every week getting his new releases. I read casually here and there, especially if they're cool ones Matt tells me to check out. But for the most part, I read the one for our comic and then 1 or 2 that I'm following. But then Matt will be like, "Oh man, I picked up so." I will say, particularly, there's a comic that's an anthology series called The Silver Coin. Matt read, and he did a review of one, and when he told me about it, I was like, "That sounds awesome," and I'm definitely going to be checking that out.
Check it out. It's really good. But yeah, so new comic issue reviews Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then I'm doing a graphic novel or a manga review on Wednesdays. So
and Matt's Minis in there still too.
Yep, still doing Matt's Minis on Saturday mornings now. It moved from Friday night to Saturday morning, because if you release it on Friday night, isn't it just Saturday morning? You're going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, Saturdays mornings I release Matt's Minis, and then Sundays, just like always, we get the main podcast. So yeah, on that note, we'll see you on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.